For a look at the real estate market, we're joined here by our favorite realtor, Bess Freedman, CEO, Brown Harris Stevens, luxury real estate in New York, in South Florida. But I think it's a lot of the people watching are in those places too. So,
of course,
what's it feel like to you here? Like, how important is the mortgage rate in Manhattan for the high-end client that you serve?
So it's not as important because we see a lot of cash deals. I think something like 60%, give or take, depending. You know, these are luxury discretionary markets like Palm Beach, certain areas of Connecticut. So it's different. If we think about affordability as a whole in this country, the rates really do impact everyday people. Because, yes, rates have come down a little bit, but still buying a home is unaffordable for most Americans today, and that's what we need to solve for.
How do we solve for that?
We solve for that in many ways. Obviously, rates coming down is a good thing. Zoning is important in local places so people can build. We need to have good incentives so people do want to build and have more homes. You know, prices have been really high, too. Those need to come down. Sellers have stayed in that lock-in mindset because they have low rates. And so a whole bunch of things need to happen together. And look, we saw the housing starts today were slow. And part of that is the labor market, right? And, you know, I think the president talked about if we got rid of illegal immigrants, you know, we moved them out, that we would have a stronger, you know, workforce. But we're seeing the opposite. And I think, you know, it's a tough time overall. We don't want to have a recession. So inflation's still sticky and, you know, jobs are slowing. And I think that's why, you know, the Chairman Powell is being very cautious and meticulous about how he's handling this.
I wonder about affordability and mortgage rates. Danny and I have been talking about this lately. If mortgage rates really do come down, I get that at the same price, that makes it more affordable. But if mortgage rates come down, don't prices go up?
They could. I mean, it all depends on which market it's relative and supply and demand. And look, it's not making a huge difference if they come down a little bit, you know, a quarter point, whatever it is. It's what the price is, it's what they're making, it's do they have a job, it's all those things, the cost for their kids to go to school. Everything has gone up, so it's relative. And so affordability is out of grasp for everyday home buyers. And we need to make that reality come back.
Well, there has been part of this issue that home builders just have been holding back, that they want to preserve margins. At what point does that change and they maybe go for market share and really start to amp up supply?
I think they have to feel some sense of certainty to make sure that we're not going to enter a recession, to know that the labor force will be strong, that they can have people, that the cost of goods is affordable. I mean, construction is expensive, right? So all of those things have to make sense or it's pencils down. And then if they don't have incentives to build, they're not going to go into the poorhouse to build housing. It doesn't make sense. So I think all of those things are really important as we think about housing overall, because it is important for people to be able to have shelter and, you know, be able to raise their kids and have a home.
Obviously, in Manhattan, it's not all about purchases. A lot of people here rent, and those rent.
The prices are crazy.
Insane,
yes.
Right?
It's like Crazy Eddie. Insane. Yeah. It's insane. It's been.
But to the upside, rather than what Crazy Eddie was trying to do, you know, before he went to jail.
Did he?
I got to ask you probably what you get asked most often now, other than mortgage rates. Mamdani. If Zoran Mamdani becomes the mayor and he puts in place rent caps, what does that mean for the New York City landscape?
I mean, we've seen that before and it's failed. And I think there are people that are concerned. There are alarmists that are worried that if he becomes the mayor, it's going to be detrimental to our housing market, to so many different things. But he only has so much power, and I think he'll work with the governor to make sure he does the right things. I don't think it's the end of the world. We've had bad mayors before. And I think he will work with everyone to try to keep New York strong, because that's his goal. He wants to have a good legacy. So, and if the people elect him, we all have to work with him. Whether I vote for him or not, we all have to work with him. So I think we will survive. That's my answer.
Bess, I just love the markets you exist in, because the thing that people always say is if they don't like Mamdani coming in or something they don't like about New York, they go to Florida.
That's right.
South Florida is where they go. How much of that has been lip service versus you actually seeing people making plans to maybe change and have a primary residence in South Florida?
I mean, that's been happening even before COVID.
True.
People have been moving to Florida. I think DeSantis held up like a sign with Mamdani, like being like, this is going to be great for us. And certainly there's going to be a percentage of people. I do know people who are selling now because they're concerned about it. I do know developers that decided not to build a project right now until they see what's going to happen. So there is a level of uncertainty, and people have been moving to Florida. But some of that is also for retirement, for a gentler sort of weather environment, for different reasons, you know, jobs. So there will be some of that, but I don't think it'll be crazy like what we saw during COVID.
How often do you make a sale? Say I'm a hedge fund manager, I live here on Park Avenue, but I buy a place in West Palm Beach. I don't intend to occupy my West Palm Beach home as my primary residence, and I make that clear to the lender, but I still sign a document saying I'm going to have that as my primary residence, even though it's here. Does that happen all the time? Because it looks like it happens all the time.
I do not know if that, I mean, it could happen. I'm sure there's many ways where people manipulate the system to benefit themselves. So I haven't been privy to those discussions, but I'm sure those sorts of things occur because, you know, rich people want to keep their money. So they're going to do whatever they can, you know, to try to do that, hopefully legally.
I know exactly where you were going with that question. But isn't that part of the thing?
I didn't. I was like, yeah, okay.
But that's part of the thing. People barely can afford enough to buy one house. So part of the reason that this is such a thing is that these are people who have more than one house.
Yeah, these are people who have multiple houses. And we want people, for example, in New York City to have their second or third home in New York City because it's helpful for the economy. It keeps people here. It, you know, helps our restaurants. It helps growth. We want the economy to keep moving, right?
Well, and I would have, you know, a rental property here if I didn't think the rent was going to get capped, right? Then I don't want to invest in that.
Well, look, there is part of the market that we have rent stabilization, but a lot of the market is free market, more than half. And look, we've been doing really well in the rental market. In fact, it's been unaffordable for a lot of people. And so I think rents have kind of hit their top, and hopefully that settles down and people can afford to be a part of the city.
Someone who rents in New York, I hope that is true.
You do rent in New York?
I do rent in New York,
It's I mean, it really is. It's mind-blowing what you get for just a little room.
Rental in New York, own in London, which is a whole other issue. We won't get into that.
It's expensive.
Bess, this has been so fantastic. Please come back again soon.
Anytime. Great to see you guys.
Wonderful to have you. That is Bess Freedman of Brown Harris.